What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now, for this video, we're going to be jumping into Wolverine, issue number 12. And if you haven't been keeping up with the Wolverine line, go ahead and check out the link in my description, as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything that's been going on in this super awesome line. Now, so far in this Wolverine line, Dracula has been really working hard to get Wolverine's blood, because Wolverine's blood is kind of their antidote to being able to walk in the sunlight. Obviously, Wolverine is not okay with this. He's not okay with being hunted down by vampires all over the world. And so he's made his way to Paris, and he found Louise. Now, Louise, she's a knight of the Knight's Guard, a group of individuals tasked with hunting down vampires. But the only issue is, they were betrayed by their own, and most of them, including herself, were turned into vampires. Now, this is written by Benjamin Piercy, art is by Scott Eaton, and cover is by Adam Kubert. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so as we jump into issue number 12, it picks us up with Wolverine and Louise. They're sitting on the rooftop staring at the Paris skyline. And right now she's kind of debating her entire life, because her entire life has been devoted to hunting down vampires. And now she is one. And right now she feels like she's stuck in the middle. She's not quite fully vampire yet, but she's also not completely human. Now, in this moment, Louise, she really contemplates just wanting to end it all. She's lived her whole life by a code, and her code would dictate her taking her own life, because she is turned into the very thing she is sworn to destroy. And this is where Wolverine gives her a little bit of reassurance. And he lets her know, as long as you don't let the darkness control you, as long as you can keep that hunger caged within inside, you can still be a force for good. Because at the end of the day, sometimes monsters just have the advantage when it comes to fighting other monsters. And as Wolverine is saying this is when we see Father Cole attack. He jumps in on top of them. Now, Wolverine, he's never been somebody to hype somebody up. He's never been one to be a shoulder to cry on. But really, he wants her to realize that if you looked at all of his yesterdays, if you look at all the times that Wolverine has lost control, at all the bad blood he has spilled, it's made him try all that much harder to do the right thing today. And though he uses that term loosely, because by the right thing, he really means he's just going to stab the individuals that actually deserve needing stabbing. And Wolverine, he truly believes that she still has a choice. She still has a chance to be one of the good guys. Now, as the fight between the three starts to come to a close, we see Father Cole grab a wooden stake that is thrown at him by Louise, and he asks her to stop. And he wants her to listen, because his voice is an echo of the voice. The voice that's already whispering inside of her head. The voice of Dracula. And Father Cole, he's come here to ask her to join the new Knight's Guard. And the new Knight's Guard, they've been tasked with securing Wolverine. Securing him and bringing him back to Dracula. Bringing him back to the Vampire Nation so they can all be daywalkers. Now, this was a mistake for Father Cole in every way, shape, and form, because he left Wolverine unattended. And this is where we see Wolverine carrying a giant wooden cross. He takes it and impales Father Cole right in the stomach. Now, this is when we're taken to Oxford University. And Dr. Boggs, he's been the one tasked with creating the serum for Dracula. And he's really gotten himself in over his head. And now his lab assistant has been turned into a vampire. And so he's been running experiments on him, not wanting to do this. He's trying to help him now. He's trying to find a cure to be able to get rid of this vampirism. Because at this point, he's feeling guilty for what's happened to him, because he was an innocent bystander in the entire situation. And as he goes up to the door to draw some blood from the young lab assistant, he grabs him and he goes to bite him. But this is when we see Omega Red, and Omega Red pulls the doctor away from him. And Omega Red lets him know that he knows exactly what Dracula wants from him. he also knows that as soon as he finishes his work, Dracula plans to rip his heart out. And so Omega Red, he really wants to understand why Dr. Boggs is continuing on with this work if he knows that his death is going to be inevitable. And Dr. Boggs fills in Omega Red on exactly why he's doing this. He's telling him it's for his lab assistant. You know, at first he did this because Dracula intimidated him and he was a coward. But now he's doing it so he can help his young lab assistant. Because at the end of the day, he was an innocent bystander in the entire situation. And so the doctor just feels guilty about it all. And this is when Omega Red tells him, what if I told you there was another way? What if there was a way that could both benefit you and me and complete the task that you want to get done? And that's what brings us to the armory in Krakoa. And Wolverine sitting here with Forge, checking out all of the new arsenal that he has at his disposal. You know, he had come to Krakoa to bring Louise here, to put her in the healing gardens. While there's nothing that they can do about the vampirism that's taking over her body, there were some things that Forge could do for her. Firstly, he created a sunblock biosuit lined with a porpoise bone marrow. Now this is going to help generate blood cells, and it's going to kind of slow down the need to feed, as well as a UV lace sword that will literally cut through any vampire that stands in her way. And with the awesome helmet added on, this is literally like a walking battle coffin. And now that she's all suited up and she's ready to go, Wolverine, he wants to head to Berlin because there's a group, a nest of vampires that he's just been waiting to take out. But this is when he gets a call from Sage. A call from Sage asking to meet at the point. And this is where we see Wolverine go to meet up with X-Force. And as they come into the room, this is where they see Sage, Beast, and Omega Red. And right off the bat, Wolverine's like, what the F is he doing here? Like, why is he here? Someone better explain it right now before I start just gutting people. But Beast tells us that Omega Red has a proposal. Now Wolverine at first, he doesn't even want to hear it, but Omega Red lets him know that the Vampire Nation, they own him. You know, and Wolverine, he's been focused on vampires for quite some time now, so obviously this is going to grab his attention. And so he hears him out. He's like, all right, you know, start talking, tell me everything. And he tells them everything. And after he's divulged all the information, Beast tells him, you know, like, we could put you in the hole for this. And Omega Red says, you know, I don't care. Like, put me in a hole. I've been living in literal shadows. You know, if this island truly gives everything that you say it does, then I want to be a part of it. But he needs to know that he's going to have amnesty on Krakoa. He needs to know that he's going to be able to start a new life as somebody that's not necessarily seen as a monster anymore. Now Wolverine, he truly believes, you know, there's some kind of game at play here. He doesn't believe that Omega Red is all about what he is saying right now. And so Wolverine says, you know, what's the move here? Like, what's the game at? And he lets him know that Dracula wants Wolverine, so why don't we give them Wolverine? And that's what takes us to the catacombs of Paris a few days later. And we see Dracula with his most trusted vampires near him. And he lets everybody know that he was the first experiment. He tasted the blood of Wolverine and allowed him to walk in full daylight for an entire day. Then they developed the blood cloaks, a portable transfusion device that preserved and pulsed out blood cells. And with more samples of Wolverine's blood, he wants to share daywalking with everybody. And this is where we see Dracula have a door opened up only to reveal that Wolverine is sitting in a test tube, having his blood slowly drained out of his body. You know, and this has been Dracula's plan from the get-go, to make his vampire nation something formidable, and they are daywalkers. Now, as it stands, they don't necessarily have enough blood yet to give it to everybody, but he is going to give it to his most trusted advisors. Now, as they taste the blood, something goes horribly wrong. They all start feeling some kind of immense kind of pain. Something is not right here. And this is when we're shown earlier at the hatchery. And what they did at the hatchery is created a clone. They created a clone of Wolverine as kind of a decoy. But this clone, its brain function, it barely works. It's capable little more than being able to fill its lungs to be able to keep itself alive, to keep from breathing. Now, as it stands, Dr. Boggs, he may be one day able to create a cure. It may be possible, but as it stands, it's not. And so as it stands, they're banking everything on this clone and Omega Red. Now Wolverine, the clone Wolverine, he had his genes altered. The 5 did gene editing, and they thickened up the blood of Wolverine, making his blood kind of like the plankton that are luminescent, the plankton that glow. So it's a little bit of a light. And so as the vampires drink this blood, it goes into their bloodstream, and this glowing light starts to burn them from the inside out. And so more or less, they sent a dirty bomb into the vampire nation. Now we can only imagine how this is all gonna play out. As it stands, we know that Blade is currently being the sheriff of the vampire nation. Now these events may take prior to that, but we'll have to see how it all plays out, especially now that they've been recognized by all of the nations. But it doesn't stop Wolverine and everybody else. You know, at the end of the day, they said they are the CIA of the X-Men, so they're doing all of this under a guise. But they go into the vampire nation and they start laying waste. And they are cutting their way all the way through all of these vampires, trying to make it to Dracula. But Dracula turns himself into a bat and he flees. He runs away before they're able to get to him. Now this is where it takes us to a little bit later. It takes us to the kingdom of Sevalith, in the realm of other worlds. Now this kingdom is unique because this kingdom is the realm of the vampires, but they're not like Earth's vampires. All of the vampires on Earth, they all came from one bloodline. They all came from Dracula. That's why everybody, all the vampires can hear him in their head. You know, he calls them his children, but really they're slaves to him. But the vampires living here, they're more like royalty. They're sophisticated and superior. They don't let their hunger define them, and they've even gone to the point where they're creating life. They give birth in these blood sacs to new vampires. And so Wolverine's thought process on this is, let's go to them and tell them about Dracula. They're going to see Dracula and they're going to want to wipe him from the face of existence. And so they go before the vampires. They tell them about Dracula and ask for their assistance in taking him out. And this is where we see a shadowy figure telling them if they came to seek an ally with death, then they have come to the right place. And this is where we see one of the children of Apocalypse, the one known as Death. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I've been thinking this is a lot of fun. I am thoroughly enjoying this Wolverine line and the Vampire Nation as a whole. It's been really intriguing. I'm really loving how we're seeing very, very different perspectives, from Blade's perspective, from Wolverine's perspective, Omega Red's perspective. And speaking of Omega Red, you know, I've been saying this is one thing I've really enjoyed about this new X-Men line, is all of our mutants are finally getting an opportunity to be good guys. A true opportunity. A chance for true amnesty. You know, it's a place where they no longer have to be afraid. They no longer have to do whatever they have to do to survive. They can literally find out exactly who they are before the world saw them as monsters. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.